brought all of we brought all of the data to our instructional leadership team, and we were able to look at do kind of a similar process that we did as a site council, where we looked at our data and we talked about what we were seeing and some areas that really stood out to us as areas of concern. Um, and then we did another exercise where we did what's called a root cause analysis. And we talked about all of the factors that could contribute to the reason why our data looks the way that it does. And as we were having that conversation, we were talking about things that are in our control as well as things that are out of our control. And so as we started to think about how to write our school improvement plan, our major goal this year is to reduce the gap, the achievement gap between our students of color and our white students. That is our number one school improvement goal. And one of the ways that we felt like we have control to do that as a school is to really focus on supporting our students that need some more of the introductory skills to help them access some of their learning, and to focus a lot of interventions that way. So we are looking at, our teachers are always doing interventions. They are doing really specific ones for literacy and very specific ones for math. So as we are continuing to write our SIP, we're going to be meeting with our grade level teams, and they'll be sharing with us their goal that will contribute to the school improvement goal. Does all of that make sense? I know that I'm talking without a presentation, but that was one of the things that the majority of the families noticed as well, is that when we were looking at our students who needed support, we had a big gap between the percentage of students that were white that needed significant support and then our students of color that needed support. And we need to do something about that gap to reduce it.
Can I offer a comment?
Absolutely.
I think, of course, that's a great goal to have. I'm wondering if maybe we could frame it, instead of achievement gap, which puts all the onus, to me, on students and what they're achieving or not achieving, as either opportunity gap, or a term I just heard recently that I thought was profound, was educational debt. Like that it's on us as adults to figure out how, like you were saying, like how we can best support the students. And obviously it's a partnership between teachers and students and families. But yeah, thinking about it more in terms of, yeah, what were the opportunities that we aren't offering students, or how we can best support them.
When you use the words, did you say academic or educational debt?
Yeah, I just came across this.
How would you use it in a sentence? Because
like the same way you'd use achievement gap. This is a newer term to me as well, but I thought it was a profound way of describing kind of what we owe our students. So yeah, you could use it interchangeably with achievement gap.
I know I appreciate that feedback, and I'm always really conscious in it when we're talking about discrepancies between groups of students. I hear what you're saying loud and clear about achievement and opportunity and all of that sort of thing. So I appreciate that feedback. Sonia, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, hi. I'm wondering if Trinity, you could, or if anyone can clarify a little bit. I know literacy is very, very at the forefront of a lot of people across the district right now, and that, you know, statewide, nationally, we have outlying disparages between our BIPOC students having the opportunity to be taught to read and our white students having the opportunity to be taught to read. So I've been a part of a lot of different conversations about this in a lot of different places. And I'm wondering, because we are sort of in the middle of a little bit of a, I mean, my opinion, a little bit of a circus with the district's literacy framework that has been introduced, is being introduced, is being worked on. And, you know, I've sat through a couple of presentations on literacy pertaining to special education in the past couple of months. My question, given that context, is when we talk about this being a goal, and I think it's a good goal, what are we doing and what is informing what we are going to do? Is it coming from the literacy framework? Is it coming from newer curriculums that we're pulling in? Are we using the same curriculums and interventions? Have any teachers had the opportunity to do more development in the last year around literacy? Kind of where are we at? If I could be caught up a little bit, I'd be super grateful.
Absolutely. When we're talking about our literacy, we're talking about the work that the teachers are doing in the classrooms on a daily basis. And the data that we use is there's a plethora of data. The one that we use consistently as we're tracking our school improvement goals, which are state required. We have to have a math goal, a literacy goal, and a social emotional goal. Those are required goals for every school in Minnesota. We use our FAST test as one point of reference to chart students' growth. Our classroom teachers dial in even more. They are able to have individualized data meetings with a math and literacy specialist where they're able to look at different interventions such as Sunday they are using. We do press interventions. Our teachers are receiving professional development on those different interventions all the time. We had a huge number of our staff this summer go through Orton Gillingham training, which was paid for by our Family Connections, which thank you for that very much. It has been really wonderful for our teachers to be able to connect to the Sunday interventions with what they would learn at Orton Gillingham. So we use Benchmark as like our primary curriculum for literacy. However, our teachers know that the benchmark is not going to give them all that the students need, especially around phonics, which is where we are building in Sunday interventions and supports to kind of plug in some of the holes that we know that are missing in the curriculum that we're using. So all of those interventions have very regular miniature assessments that they're doing with individual students. And as they're doing those assessments, they're able to say, okay, this child has mastered this letter sound or these combinations. I can move on to the next ones with this group. And the teachers are figuring out how to do that in small groups, individualized instruction, and then they are able to meet with our coaches to talk and to plan about what they need to do next with their data. Donna and I have also structured 2 meetings a month that are professional learning community meetings for our teachers, and that's really organized by grade level team. And they are all bringing student data to the table, talking about where their students are, what strategies they're using in their classrooms, what's being successful, what isn't working as well, and they're able to brainstorm together as a team to try and find solutions for the needs that every student has. So that's kind of where we are in a nutshell around literacy. And we do something very similar with math. We have CPV assessments and a whole slew of things with math as well. But I do hear your question around literacy. It is at the forefront of what everyone is talking about in our district for sure.
Thanks so much. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Did I miss anything? I feel like I got it all.
My only other question would be, are we using multi-tiered system of supports in this work right now? Okay. And maybe you and I can talk more about that later. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments or feedback around our plans for our school improvement goals. As I'm thinking about how to write them, I would really like to not use deficit language at all as we're writing our goals and talk more about how we are increasing growth for our students. Because that's usually the measure that we use is how much growth have they made in a given year. So that will be, I think that makes the most sense for our language so that we're not focusing on deficits anywhere, but really highlighting growth that students are making. Does that make sense to everybody?
But also circling around the point that there is a large gap. Whatever we call it, there is a large gap that has always existed that we have not been able to close over all the years that I've been here. And we try very hard and use different resources in different ways, and we don't get great results. So we're actually being pretty proactive about our strategies, and we're going to stick with them so that I'm looking forward to seeing how what the kids have picked up since they've been back in school now. Because when we first gave them their FAST assessment, the scores were kind of miserable for us overall. They were like, oh, but now having spent the last 4 months with your children in school, it's definitely, there's been a huge impact. The pandemic has had a huge impact on children that I guess I hoped it wouldn't have had, but it has had. And when we're done with the SIP goal things, that would be the conversation I'd like to have with everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. I think too, next time we meet, we will have had our second FAST assessment either in the works or complete for some of our students. So we'll be able to look at that point, the amount of growth that we've made since the data that we just showed you last week, which was data, or last month, which was data from September. So we'll be able to get a good sense of how much our students have grown already this school year. So, and you know, when you talk to the teachers, our students are making growth. Absolutely they are. Okay, I think that's it for me, Donna, unless anybody has any other questions or comments about our school improvement goals. Once it's complete, I will share it on the website, and I will also communicate probably in Parents Press somehow that families can look at our specific goals on the website.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I know in the past that we had a goal around discipline, and I'm wondering if there is still a focus on that or if any progress has made. I don't know how you chart discipline in a year when a lot of students weren't in the school building. So is that part of the reason why we're not focusing on that right now?
So we have a team that's our equity and engagement team, and they're working on what kind of that's considered like a social emotional goal. And so we're trying to look at what are our most urgent needs that we're seeing in our building right now and frame our goal around that.
Sure.
And I'm sure Donna will probably speak to a little bit to that, right, Donna?
Yeah.
About the needs that we're seeing, SEL needs of our students.
Sure.
Zam, you have your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you said you're gonna do the gap, you said. How do you approve that one with the kids? You do discipline or the reading status or maths? How the gap is like after pandemic, the kids, they don't bring a lot of scale. You say you try to do it. Your focus is in social or emotional behavior or other subject, reading, math. Which one you guys doing? I'm a little bit, it's not clear for me.
Okay, we have 3 areas, Sam, that we set goals around. We have a goal around math, literacy, and then a goal around the social emotional aspect of school. So we write 3 very specific goals in our school improvement plan.
Thank you.
Anissa. No, still
We can't hear you now.
Mm-mm.
That's okay. Put it in the chat. So the second point, or my point that I'd like to share with all of you as a site council, is that remember that movie that came out a couple years ago, and it was called The Children Are All Right. So we all had high hopes that the children would be all right as we started our school year. And we found that the kids have been pretty wobbly. And it may not be your own child as we talk about this, but it may be the kids in their classroom or the things you're hearing about when you get home, when they get home. Our school year has been really interesting. We have seen an increase in fighting. We have seen an increase in students not being able to wait. We've had seen an increase in disrespectful language. And I'm not saying this because it's oh so terrible. We're handling it and we're getting better every day. But we were hit kind of with a lot of different things. First and foremost, the pandemic. I think that the children having to go to school online allowed them probably more opportunities than any of us realized to see and hear things that are possibly age inappropriate. So they're coming up in the second grade and in the first grade, and we hear about boyfriends and girlfriends. It's something that we kind of try to say, oh no, that we don't talk about that in second grade. There are no boyfriends and girlfriends. But the kids are very savvy about all this stuff. And then there are the kids who know words that they really shouldn't know, and then they pronounce them in front of their friends. And then we have to have more conversations around this. So I've seen a little bit more of a TikTok generation, somewhat sexualized dancing and singing and doing things that are disturbing to me as their old principal. I say old, but and also their teachers, because they're imitating what they've seen and heard on their own and interpreted in the last year. Not to say that most parents aren't trying very hard to monitor their kids' stuff, but even by third grade, many of our kids have a cell phone that they should be putting in their locker, but and they do. We don't allow them to have them flipping around, but things that happen where TikTok videos come into play in a problem when a parent calls up about another family's child having a conflict. It's kind of like, well, this is new. I think at the beginning of the year, it also was very hard for us as a school to integrate half of the kids as first year students to Marcy, as we were developing our own brand of arts integration magnet. But really with the staff and I feeling like our values in peace and social justice were going to be maintained no matter what we were called. And so the new kids didn't get that memo. So they had to be learning it as we move along. And I'm happy to say that we've seen incremental positive change as kids get to know and trust the adults in their lives here. But it's been a struggle, and I have sent a lot more children home for behaviors that we hadn't typically seen here at Marcy, very dysregulated behaviors. And the social emotional aspect of school this year has really changed. We're considering a lot more whole child reality as we move forward with any kind of conversation about of a disciplinary consequence, or something that's happening as far as what a child's doing. We received a lot of kids who, because of the pandemic and being at home, were not identified as students who might need extra support in school. So they're pinging left and right in our building, and they have no background that we can look at to see why they might be somebody who gets upset, or why they might need some kind of a plan where they take a break during the day, or have some kind of a support system put into place. So that's arduous work, because we want to be respectful of each student, and we want to keep everybody safe. So I know, because I've talked to so many wonderful new families, as I call and talk to them about their children, that our parents are the same parents that we've always had at Marcy, whether or not they're new or they didn't know what they were doing. They're very reasonable. They work with me to talk about their child. They want what's best for their child. But as I've said before, our kindergartners are a lot like our first graders and some of our second graders. They don't have the skill set, the socialized skill set down pat to participate in school fully. So we're always working on those kinds of skills. We're always modeling. We're always talking about behavior. We're always, giving positives for what a great job everybody's doing. And again, I can't commend the teachers enough, because they have to show way more patience than ever before, because somebody's not acting out just because they feel like being naughty or they're bored. There are kids who lack serious skills who are in our second and third and fourth grade classes. They might have come from a different school in Minneapolis, and there's no record of anything that might show that they need support, and boom, they can't read or write beyond the first grade level. We're facing those realities head on. And I just want the site council to be aware of that, because when we were a K-8 school, when we had the middle schoolers here, we did focus on reducing the number of suspensions, because those children could put you over the edge, and they sometimes needed a lot of suspensions, or they needed time away from school. And now that we don't have those older kids, it's been interesting to watch the shift, and our fifth graders are doing a lovely job of stepping in, which isn't a good thing. It is like a socially irritating thing, because they're all about the dating, and they're all about the swearing, and they're all about all of it. So I spend a lot of time talking to their parents, which is what we've always done. We're getting better. I feel very hopeful, and I feel very lucky that we're where we're at, because we have enough staff members typically to fill in when people are absent. And our staff are only absent when it's absolutely necessary. We don't have one person who doesn't understand how serious it is when they have to be absent. So we're hanging in there and we're moving forward. But this year, more than ever, our social emotional reality has to be about taking care of the whole child. I get hugged a lot more than I used to. I have kids who need to hug me every day, because it's just what they have to do. And I think, because I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I have never seen it quite like this. Kids' confidence is a little shaken. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know. The other day, we had some police officers outside of our building who were doing some paperwork, literally, and they came in and told me that. But I had a couple of kids come down to the office, leave class, and say, "Why are there police here? What's wrong?" Is everything okay? And I had to reassure them that everything was going to be okay, because we can't forget about the trauma our city went through just a short time ago and what kids might be still processing. So I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer at all, but I'm just saying that as you talk with your kids, you will, I mean, we've always had the problem of, profanity, especially on the buses. And I think if you ever want to learn some good swear words, just let your kids ride the bus, because it's not good, because we're not on there to help. But I think that trying to help your kids understand that families all went through different feelings about the pandemic and are still going through it, and that it's okay to feel afraid. And if you as parents feel your child needs to talk to somebody, we have people here at school they can talk to. And it may be your child that's always been the strongest one and you'd never think anything happened. We're finding that to be the case. There are just some kids, just like there are some adults, just like there are some of us, who every so often you just get overwhelmed with the reality of the situation, and then you have to regroup and get feeling a little bit better. But all in all, I'm excited to see what the academic FAST scores will show, because I think being back in school has been good for the kids. I pray that we don't have to all go back online again, and that the Omicron variant is really just what they say, which is fast moving, but not as serious as the other variant. But our world is continually disrupted by the virus. Kids are here and there in our building going on quarantine, so their parents and their lives are disrupted, and we have no control over that. We never know what is going to crop up. So as you can imagine, everybody's a little bit on edge, just a little, depending on how you feel that day. And our job, Trinity's and my job, I feel, is to take care of our staff the best way we can and make them feel like it's going to be fine. We're going to be able to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then it's their job to try to help the kids through it. But as parents, you are the most important person in your child's life. Therefore, that's why I write things in Parents Press, and that's why I'm like, I reach out to all of you. And I think as a parent council, you should know that in spite of all this, kids are doing art. They're really doing their thing here. Some of them are happily going through the world the way they usually do, and they don't know anything about the pandemic, nor do they care. So those kids are kind of fun to hang out with. They're usually preschoolers or kindergartners. Everybody else has their issues, but as a school, please don't forget that we have had a lot of different traumas impact our school, and we're working hard at making sure we still stay celebratory and positive as we go through this. So does anybody have any questions or concerns about what I just said? Because your kids may be coming home with really big stories, and I'm happy to tell you more about the stories that they may come home with.
Donna, could you, this is so weird, but could you talk a little bit more? So the girlfriend boyfriend thing is real? I thought it was just Emmett. So,
oh no.
Oh my God, he's had like 3 girlfriends in 3 weeks, and
I'm sorry. The boys are usually not the ones that are starting it up.
He's not starting it. He's the victim.
Sorry. And so, Mike, you get to say to him, you know what, in our family, we are all friends. Well, Trinity, what do you tell your kids? We tell them this stuff all the time. Like, we just say, in this grade, absolutely not. And some of them are naive enough to believe us. But you're right, it's everywhere.
I found Emmett with his iPad yesterday, and he kind of backed away when I came over there, and he had Googled what to do when you have a girlfriend.
No.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Good luck, kid. Like, I don't know the answer either.
Well, at least you have a sense of humor about it, because trust me, there are a lot of parents in your son's grade that are like, oh my gosh, not my kid. Trust me, they all hear about it and they all want to participate. That's really ironic. Anybody else?
Well, I had a question, or I was
Sure.
curious, because I know that it is something. Thank you so much. I do know that it's something that is apparent for my son and my nephew. My nephew's in third grade, my son's in second, and my other niece who's in first grade. The behaviors are apparent, and I know it's hard as a parent, it's uncomfortable. We're always quick to think of like the worst case scenario. But I do try to be as transparent with my son about it and have age appropriate conversations. And I don't know, is that something that other parents are maybe a little shy of or not as inclined or interested to um, take on? Is it something that isn't something we would implement, I guess, in the classrooms if so many children are doing it instead of, trying to shun them away from it, trying to find healthier ways to have the conversation so they are transparent, so they're not getting misinformation, having miscommunication. The level of anxiety I get when my child says that, it raises, but what isn't appropriate at this age? When is it appropriate as opposed to no, or because they're going to do it anyway. So how do we give them the healthy information? Or is that not something that parents, teachers, the school, it's just not what to do? And I'm genuinely asking because this is my first rodeo.
Are you asking Shantae about the
Oh
anxiety?
yeah, the boyfriend girlfriend thing.
Oh, the boyfriend girlfriend thing.
Uh-huh.
So the one thing that we know is that parents have the right to raise their kids however you want to. And that's not a cop out on my part. It's just that sometimes I hear about families doing things that I think, what the heck? But that's just my own opinion. You know what? I mean, I think if there are any parents here who are willing to just talk about this, what would you say to your kid if they came home and said they have a boyfriend or they want to do boyfriend girlfriend stuff, or what is that? Just to answer Dante.
I ask them, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to hear from their point of view. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a boyfriend? What does it mean to be a girlfriend? What are boyfriend and girlfriend things? And, I think that also ties into conversations that I have all the time with my own children about their bodies are theirs. And if they have the right to say yes or no to anybody giving them a hug, a high five, anything, like that's always their choice. So I think there's like those age appropriate conversations that you have. And then you talk about like if somebody likes you and you want to be their friend, that it's okay to say, I only want to be your friend, at any age. Like that is completely appropriate. So we're constantly, and I know that this isn't just me with my own kids. I have been in classrooms and witnessed teachers guiding conversations when something happens, or helping two kids figure out a friendship together, and they always have really great language to use with the kids to help them figure out, like appropriate boundaries for whatever age they're in. And that's also pretty tricky because boundaries are very different based on the belief system of any given family.
Mm-hmm.
So
Anybody else want to share with Shantae what you've done or are doing, or Berkeley? How many boyfriends and girlfriends are going on in their third grade classroom?
I'm not going to say it's not happening because I'm sure it is. I haven't heard too much of that kind of business. Shantae, one thing that comes to mind though too is, if it was happening with one student, certainly I would have maybe more of a private conversation. If it was something that was happening, with several students, and I noticed it was, a more prevalent problem in the classroom, certainly, we could stop and have a conversation. I haven't stopped and had a conversation with my class about that specifically, but certainly we will have class meetings about different issues that pop up or different conversations we need to cover. We've had several class meetings about, how we resolve conflicts. How do we resolve conflict on the playground? How do we resolve conflict in the classroom? What are some steps that we can take to support each other and to resolve those conflicts? So I don't want to say it's not happening in third grade because I'm sure it is. It hasn't been a class-wide discussion in my classroom, but certainly if it needed to be, it's certainly on the table. So I hope
I,
that's
I
will help.
I also know that again, it's a social media thing. So my kid watches videos of these characters. I tell him it's considered beatboxing. He thinks it's rapping. It's not. There's no lyrics. But the characters are literally called boyfriend, girlfriend, this and that. Like that's what the characters are called. But he's also aware of what a crush is. He sees my parents kissing, and that makes him feel good, and he's all warm and fuzzy, and I'm like, that's fine. We talk about boundaries, accountability, consent, and what is appropriate, good appropriate, bad appropriate, and age appropriate. I just don't. With that, I think it's when it translates over. I guess I'm just curious of how that carries over in school. And as a teacher or the staff member, you guys' comfort with that. Is that something that, you know, if it was more commonly spoke about amongst parents, we can come together and support the staff and the parents and everyone can be on the same accord? Or is it just like, no, it's just easier. Y'all deal with y'all kids at home and, just leave it at that. Um, but at one point, when I'm pretty sure when sexual activity was prevalent, that's why they started to introduce sexual education and in the health courses. So I don't know if this is a social education boundary thing. I don't know.
What we try to do is address each situation as it comes up.
Okay.
So we talk generally in school about how everybody should be friends with everybody. You don't have to like everybody, but you should try to be a good friend. And what does that mean? And then if it goes off into this situation, I mean, the idea of boyfriend girlfriends is just as messy as when kids developmentally start to glob together three girls against one girl, or not good friends, or best friends breaking up and not being friends, and that all those icky things, all those uncomfortable situations happen through the grades. So I probably was a little flippant about my boyfriend girlfriend stuff, but not really, because it's really happening, where kids just seem to know more and talk about it more. And it's like, you know what, you could just go on the swing, go have fun, be whoever you want to be. You don't have to think about this stuff. But I've noticed that there's more of it. And we just talk honestly with the kids about boundaries. And like Trinity said, your body is your own, and you don't have to let anybody touch it or be near it if you don't want to. And we do have these we have social skills curriculum that teachers can use to talk in their classrooms about situations that might come up. So I spoke a long time about our school situation, and in spite of it all, it's still a thriving place. I'm still kind of yelling at the engineers because I want the snow removed around the blocks so that people don't kill themselves when they walk to the buses, and you don't kill yourselves when you pick up your children. That's been an issue for us, but all in all, the kids seem very happy to be in school and happy to do the things that they're doing. They're becoming more familiar with the new teachers, especially our specialists. And recently I received an email that talked about, let's start thinking about next year's budget. And I thought, oh boy. But as a parent council or as a site council, one thing that I would really appreciate feedback on, if you ever have some time in the car to think about this. So your children are in an arts magnet school. An arts magnet school that's going to have money to spend again. What else can we do? I mean, one of the things I just threw pie in the sky because I don't know much about it is getting a 3D printer, and then finding somebody who could teach the kids how to use that 3D printer. So we have money to be able to buy really cool things, but we're not going to buy them if we don't have the staff who know what they're doing. Unless, we reach out to our school community and know some people who know about these things, we're in a position to buy some pretty cool things. The interesting thing is we don't have a lot of storage space. So it can't be a, grand piano because we don't have the room for that. But as we think about thinking outside the box about what we would like to do as an arts magnet, some of you may or may not have an arts background, may have interest in an art direction. You could talk to your friends and see if you come up with any good ideas, and please share them with us. Okay.
I'm just wondering, and this is probably something that we have no idea if it's even possible, but I think that bringing in people, especially to share how art is experienced and viewed in lots of different cultures would be really great. Whether it's music or visual arts or dance or theater or whatever the case may be. But I just, I know we don't know when we can bring people in, but I would love to see some money used to, bring in artists.
Absolutely. And it's the darn pandemic stuff that's preventing us from going that direction, but it hasn't prevented us from, Hannah Edwards is looking at who we should bring in. And I know fifth grade's going somewhere. They all looked at me and said, well, we're going. I forget where fifth grade's going, maybe to see a dance performance at the Northrop or something. But they're kind of going rogue from me, and they had already bought the ticket. So I guess I'm going to let them go, but the parents will have to know that their kids are going to the Northrop because it feels so long to all of us. And I guess they got a good / free deal, and they went ahead and got tickets. So slowly but surely we'll try to work our way back into the building.
I don't know all about how funding works. I know a little bit how funding works. I just want to say this, it's inconvenient, it's a boat rocking thing, but I want the people on this screen right now to know this, that I was in an IEP meeting for my child this morning with some folks from Marcy. It was a great meeting. Y'all are amazing. And I learned from an employee of Marcy that right now there are 2 fifth grade students who have complex disabilities attending school who are in a quote dangerous situation while at school because of lack of paraprofessionals at school to support those students. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. I can't get anyone to come to my house to deliver my kids legally protected IEP services. There's no teachers, but it sits wrong for me when we're talking about what could we do, maybe a 3D printer, when we can't fund literal baseline staff for safety for students with complex medical needs. And sometimes the reason I bring it up, and I don't mean to be a wet blanket, and a 3D printer sounds amazing, and I love the arts because I picked the school for my kid, right? But like, sometimes because of the way that special education can be very segregated, which is on purpose and part of the wound of the disability community as institutionalization and being separate and being erased, not everybody knows necessarily, if they don't have kids or they're not working in special education, what the realities are right now for students who are receiving special education, particularly for students who have multiple complex disabilities. And I just want us to try to be holding all of that together, because students who are parents and caregivers of students who are receiving special education and have complex individualized educational programming have been sitting in meetings and trying to get services for our kids. And it is rough right now for us. And I don't want to feel alone. And I'm going to believe in good faith that the parents who are in this room don't want me to be alone in this, don't want us to be alone, don't want parents who are trying to juggle a lot plus brokering educational services that should be guaranteed for their kids to be alone, don't want their kids to be unsafe in even more ways at school. So I don't expect y'all to solve this. We don't even have to talk about it anymore tonight, but I want to put it on your radar because we shouldn't be alone And I have a lot of privilege in trying to work this out for my kid that a lot of folks do not have who are trying to do this right now.
So
Thank
I just want to be able to chime in on that because I definitely don't think that you're alone. And I definitely think that it is something that as a parent, I don't think it should come or have anything to do with the arts portion. I think that's something that if yourself, myself, and other parents, I think it's a budgeting thing that we should be able to go collectively to the district to advocate for Marcy, because that should be something where the children who need additional services, additional resources that are, whether it's behavioral, developmental, social, wherever it applies, it should be a separate budget outside of that, separate from the arts, that is given to the school so that those children can have that. And I think it's a matter of how many voices and documented accounts we can really present to the district. Because I do think the arts program is helpful and beneficial, and it helps children. It's a great outlet. It's a great resource for children who may just need to find that or passion. But I for sure think that you're not alone. I know that you're not alone, and I think that if you're prepared to, go full force with it, I know that I'm a person who am. And I know that I'm happy to speak for other parents, and that if there's something you want to put together, we can. But I think this is a completely separate battle that is great that you're putting on the radar. I don't think that means that we take away from talking about the arts. I think that means that now that it's apparent, you're aware, I'm aware, we're all aware, it's now being collectively active. So we can really go, because it's a budgeting thing. And the district should be aware of it. The more voices and the more people are advocating for it. I'm sorry, I'm super cold, so my voice is cracking. We're transitioning to the car. But yeah, if that's something that is possible, I think the having cooler things, having a school with more resources for in the arts field, it just broadens the scope. Children don't have to walk hand in hand and focus on so many, I think, black and white academic achievements. Tapping into that their artistic education or skills, it opens up so many other opportunities. So to have something cool like a 3D printer is awesome. And I just think it's separate and collectively, like I said, I wanted to take any opinions about the CDD changing. I've also been reaching out and speaking to people regarding having resource support staff for the children who are having trouble with, different emotions and behavior and things like that. But my voice isn't enough, and having other statements present help, where other individuals, parents, families present, we're better in numbers. So.
Shantae, can I just say that one thing that's also something that we would really love support with as a collective with our parents is we still have open positions. We have special education assistant positions that have been open for a very long time that we haven't been able to fill. We have associate educator positions that are open that we haven't been able to fill. And, if you know people that would be interested in working at a school, we would love to have them apply, have them come by and talk to us because, we would love to be fully staffed as a school.
Okay, I totally will network and use my resources and spread the word and, figure out what we can do and go from there.
That's great. We've actually hired a couple parents. They come in, and one mom came in 2 days ago, and I said to Anissa, go talk to that mom, because she asked if she could volunteer. And I said, would you like a job? How about if a job that you work exactly the same hours as your kid? Wouldn't that be good? And she said she'd consider it. So I sent Anissa on her way to help her sign up. That's how desperate we are, Sonia. I don't think, Shantae's right. The special ed budget is separate from the arts budget. There's lined items that I can spend money for in certain areas, and the special ed budget is given to me based on the needs in our school. So at this point in time, it is not, when you mentioned that about 2 kids who need more, but we don't have the staff to do it, it isn't a financial one, it's an employment one. And we're reeling from the same situation that, McDonald's is down the block, and the grocery store, and even, some of the restaurants that are not open all the time because they don't have enough employees. So we're doing the best we can, and literally we invite everyone who seems like they're nice to kids when they walk in the building. I'm over there saying, hello, what do you do during the day? And I just today was the first day for another mom of a pre-K child who her name is Danny, and she and her husband signed her child up for pre-K, and well, she started working with us today. So it's a happy moment. So yeah. But I appreciate you just being here, kind of, Sonia, to keep us all with a little lens on, everybody's different, but everybody has different needs.
And I just, out of curiosity, I know someone who's very much so educated and experienced and have all the skill set for certain things. It's just they're located elsewhere, but they're considering moving. They hate the cold. But outside of that, I mean, what information or what access can I have so I can say requirements,
Just give them
education,
number.
experience?
Shantae,
Okay.
just give them my number. I'll put it
Cool.
in the chat.
Okay. I will spread the word. I don't think I'm qualified, but I know many people who are, and I will definitely reach out.
Great.
Shante, I can tell you the district I literally heard about this last week, and it's just being rolled out right now, is actually changing the hiring requirements for paraprofessionals or educational support professionals. All you have to do prior, you had to have like 60 credits in the related field or at least a 2-year degree. Now you just need to be qualified per an interview and pass an online examination that you can self-study for online. So, and I think starting for the district is 18 or 19 bucks. But if, it's an easier path to employment than it has been previously. So if anyone knows anyone who's looking for a job that higher education may have been a barrier in the past, let them know.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
So site council's over. Does anybody have any site council-y insights that you want to share with us or let us know about? You can always just email me or Trinity. If not, we're going to let the staff go. And Kate, no, Claire is a chair of Family Connections. So thank you all for joining us at Parent Council. We'll keep you posted. If we don't see you before winter break, have a lovely 2 weeks off. Some of you have had a lot of weeks off this year. I'm so sorry, but enjoy that time of the year.
Yeah, we're in quarantine right now in our first graders class, so I don't know if this extra time is really all that great. All right, so welcome. I'm hoping we can have our Family Connections meeting be as brief as possible this evening so that we can get out of here a little bit quicker. Let me put in the chat the agenda that we have. So there's just a couple of things that we wanted to talk about. We're not having anyone come in today to talk with us, like Nurse Kathleen had come in last month, and we're hoping to get Christy, our new dance teacher, in the spring, and hopefully some other people. But first, I wanted to see, do we want to do, Alicia says you need access. Okay, let me change this.
I found that if I copied and pasted it into like the URL, it opened. But when I just clicked on the link, it said I needed access.
I also updated the permission. So now if you have the link, you should be able to open it. Is that true?
I'm in.
Works now.
I can open
Alicia
it.
says,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Great. So there was a couple fundraising things that we were going to talk about, but I did want to see if there was anybody anybody y'all wanted to hear from that we could, reach out and contact. I know there was a great ed talk last night. And so certainly possibly reaching out to Sarah Spofford Friedman and see if she's available. But if there's other, staff at Marcy, I mentioned I've been in contact with Christy, the dance teacher, to come and chat with us. But if there's other staff at Marcy or I don't know, anyone at the district level too that anyone would like to hear from, I'd love to get ideas.
Excuse me, in terms of Marcy staff, especially with what Donna and Trinity were just talking about with student challenges, I think it'd be great to hear from, I don't know these folks personally, but like the social worker, the school psychologist, other the staff that are really supporting students with issues, and what we as families can be doing to support school too.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Kate and Chal.
I know Kate loves to come talk to you guys, so I'm sure she'll come.
Yeah, Kate presented last year and it was super helpful to hear. Like that's the school psychologist, and it was incredibly informative for me.
We can maybe try to get her for January if you want.
I'm good for hearing from any of the art teachers since we're new at Marcy and we just in general don't know much of what goes on at the school.
So one of the most exciting things for me all year is the tap shoes came today.
That's very exciting.
Who is doing tap? What grade? Or
It'll be, I think it'll be everybody, and it'll be in the dance class.
Wow.
So like Donna was talking about space. Yeah. I don't know what happens if you take them home or if you keep them in the room. I didn't ask.
Like they're sharing shoes?
I don't know yet. I didn't ask if there was like a set pair for everybody and then as they outgrow it, but maybe that's what'll happen. I don't know. I just saw them trucking in a whole bunch of tap shoes. I'll find.
Claire and everyone, I don't know if anyone on the school board would be interested in coming to like an individual parent or individual school meeting, but I think it'd be great to hear kind of from a school board level. I know our current representative is not seeking re-election, but I don't know if she'd be willing to come, but I think it would be really interesting to hear kind of like how do decisions get made at a school board level that then trickle down to us at like an individual school level, or even just kind of like how did those folks go about collecting feedback and information from like individual parents and families at a by school basis.
I could contact the rep Jenny Arneson, who's in Marcy's district, and then also the like at large board members too, citywide.
The neighborhood association invites politicians all the time. I think they've invited Jenny Arneson before, but her schedule doesn't ever work out. But yeah, I mean, like every third ward city councilman that since I can remember, councilwoman has shown up there. Mm. I think politicians will show up because they see voters.
Yeah.
So.
Are school board positions paid in any way?
Yeah, they are.
Are they?
It's like a part-time deal.
Yeah, it's not a large stipend.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like 20 grand a year or something.
it just seems like a ton of a huge time investment. And I was thinking,
Yeah.
man, that's all volunteer. That's really intense.
It's like 20 grand a year to work nights all
Yeah.
the time.
Which is like what we pay our SEAs.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will put my email in the chat. And if anyone ever thinks like, oh gosh, I would really love to hear from X at the Family Connections meeting, please feel free to shoot me an email. And we
Claire, I don't know if you can ever get time with them, but I work with the Advancing Equity Coalition. And if you can get Heather Anderson or Kathy Bond or, you know, anyone from over there, they, if parents here are interested in that work, I think they're fantastic.
Yep. Yes.
I think, Sonia, that makes me think, I think my former coworker Bailey just got hired by Advancing Equity. I could definitely reach out to her and see what kind of, okay, cool. I have a pretty good relationship with her. I can reach out, Claire, to Bailey and see if they'd be willing to have somebody come to a future meeting.
Great. Okay. We need to approve November's meeting minutes. So if somebody could make that motion, you can click on the link if you want to read them.
I motion to approve the November meeting minutes.
And is there a second?
Sure. Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Yes, second.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for approving the meeting minutes. And then we have a couple of pieces of information that Kate wanted to share as the treasurer. So I will turn it over to you.
Thanks. So one of the things that we are required to submit every year as a 501c3 nonprofit is a report to the Attorney General's Office of Minnesota. So Claire has that in the meeting minutes. If you want to review it, it's I don't prepare this document. We have an accountant that we pay to prepare these pieces for us, and you will see on the document itself that the person listed for Parent Council / Family Connections, you'll see that it says Marcy Parent Council, which is our official 501c3 name. We never changed it officially, but we go by the name Family Connections to be to have it be a bit more inclusive. Rebecca Martin, she's the former treasurer. So that's, if you're wondering who this person Rebecca is, that's our former treasurer. So this is information that we are legally required to submit. That's basically like a very broad overview of our finances from last year. So this was prepared by our accountant. We need to approve it as a board, which is basically the folks here today, including the folks that are officially parent reps. And then I will sign it as treasurer and Claire will sign it as treasurer, and then it will get sent to the Attorney General to be on file with the state. So it's linked there in the document. It's a fairly brief form that has just very like general overview of our expenses, our income, and kind of like the total assets that we have from last fiscal year. So if someone wants to, again, just like the minutes, approve this for submission to the Attorney General, and then a second to approve this, then we can get it on its way.
I motion for approval, and I'm working on the access right now, Emmy.
Cool.
I'll second.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire and Mike. All in favor, if you want to just like raise your hand or give the thumbs up or nod. Awesome. Thank you. So Sydney, I will sign that, and then if I bring it to school tomorrow, maybe could it go home with Andrew for Claire to sign too? Does that work? Okay. You're muted.
Sorry, I don't usually work on Friday, but I am there tomorrow.
Oh,
Who are you, because of the vaccine clinic? So don't forget your second shots if anybody's coming. Will you send it with Milo or?
no, I go
Sorry.
on Fridays to do Friday.
Oh, you
Folded with
volunteer.
Stacy.
Okay, yeah. So you can either,
Okay,
you know, have it dropped in my office because I'm coming later in the day to be there for the
Okay.
evening.
I'll have it in your office.
Hold
And
on,
then
you
I'm sending it home.
volunteer?
Oh, wait. And then I can give it to Claire because she's coming in to get a shot. Right?
Harriet's in quarantine, so can't come to school for
Okay.
the vaccine clinic.
Okay.
But actually, you
But
know
I can
what?
send it with Andrew.
Yeah. Or I can print it off and sign it here and then just send it with Andrew. Maybe that would be easier.
Or I can just
What do
drop
you
it off
guys
at your
wanna do?
house, Claire. I'll
We'll
just
work
drop
it out.
off.
We'll work.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. Okay.
It's
Awesome.
called the Zoom meeting.
That's right. Thank you, everybody. The second thing on the treasurer's report agenda is a reminder that we have, hopefully folks, some of you got the flyer in the backpacks of your children that I signed us up for a Chipotle fundraiser. I don't know if everyone's fans of Chipotle or not, but the good thing is they give us a really great cut of the food that's purchased. So they do 33%, which is a lot more than a lot of other fundraisers do. And we used to do some fundraisers with more local like locally owned businesses, like Punch Pizza, but they aren't currently doing them. So we're doing a Chipotle one for now. It brings in a lot of money if a lot of folks participate. It's specifically the location by Marcy, the one like kind of over by
It's on Hennepin.
Yeah.
By Certix and
yeah.
Punch Pizza.
Yeah.
Noodles.
Exactly. So that's next week, the 14th from 4 to 8, and we get 33% of anybody that orders that night in person and shows the flyer or online and uses the code that's on the flyer. And I think last year, we did it once last year, and I think we raised like $400 or $500. So it was a decent fundraiser that's very easy to do because they do all of the things for us, and we just have to spread the word and encourage people to get burritos. So that's happening next week. Yeah.
And then something that is important and something I think that we can certainly use as kind of like an ongoing discussion, not a one-time only discussion, is how we use our privilege and ability to fundraise in a more equitable and sustainable manner. You know, we've talked in the past about possibly setting up a fundraising committee, and something that, you know, we would like to kind of float out is, instead of it just focusing on fundraising, having it be fundraising and equity combined, because funds certainly go hand in hand with making sure there is no or limited resource hoarding across the district, across the city, and also that we can be better neighbors and community members within our city. And so, you know, certainly we can have a longer discussion about this, but we kind of wanted to put it out if anybody is interested and would like to talk more about this, or has questions about it or anything like that. We'd love to connect and work together to really, you know, we have this unique opportunity with Marcy just turning into an arts magnet this year. And, you know, this is the perfect opportunity and time to increase equity at all levels with what our school and our community do. So.
Yeah, I definitely like to be part of that conversation. I think it's been the fundraising disparities have been on my radar just for a bit as a kindergarten parent. I'm learning more, but in here I listened to Sarah Spafford Freeman's Ed Talk last night, which was all about the the fundraising, just how fundraising disparities across the district really enhance racial disparities. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to reframe how we think about fundraising and to use equity as a lens for that, in addition to other work that we're doing.
Well, I'm excited, and hopefully this can continue to be an ongoing discussion as we move forward, and with all the money we're going to raise with the Chipotle fundraiser. No, but really to think about how we can be better within our community, and not just the Marcy community, but kind of a broader community.
One quick question. In Sarah's talk last night, she mentioned about how a lot of the bylaws of PTAs have it so that the money raised can only go to your school. Do you know if?
I do know we ran into that situation before, and it is in fact for the greater community. It is not tied specifically to Marcy.
That's good to know.
We do have some flexibility with that, and I will look for our bylaws. And
we are not a PTA, so we're a 501c3. So we can raise money for the community, but we have to have transparency surrounding it. So if we do a fundraiser and we say it's for the Marcy community, then we have to use that money for the Marcy community.
Sure.
If we do a fundraiser and we say it's for the broader community, we can use it for the broader community.
Okay. And what makes us, is a PTA a different specific type of organization?
Yes, they belong to one group and they pay participation fees to belong to it. It's like a big umbrella thing. We are our own 501c3, so we are our own nonprofit. So the money raised so far, not that we are kind of, chipping away at it because the last several years haven't brought in massive amounts of money by any means. But, in the future, all fundraising you can just say, we want to do this for the community or whatever, and then use that money specifically for it.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, and I should say, like, the fundraiser we did, like the Scholastic Book Fair, that was like the money that we got from there, we did put towards the library at Marcy. It wasn't, kind of for the broader community. Okay. Sydney, did we have any other information that we needed to share from your end, or your perspective, or your position?
Nope. I sent you and Kate that fundraising suggestion that Donna had. That was kind of all I've got. Truthfully, I didn't delve into it, but I'm hoping somebody will look in and see if it's an ethical organization or not. Scholastic Book Fair did not make any money, really. The problem is people want to see the books, and the kids get excited to see the books. So I think until we have an in-person book fair, we're going to be hurting on that. And unless Abra's got any great ideas for another great fundraiser, I'm good, and I say we go home early.
I am home.
I did think that people might appreciate if the December meeting at least could end much earlier than normal. But I also don't want to end it and have someone, want to share something or ask something or anything like that.
I do have one more thing, not to prolong the meeting. Being new to Marcy, I don't know, is there any tradition of providing a meal for teachers at this time of year, or treats, or something to show appreciation, and possibly not just our school, but others that don't have any family groups?
I know right now the Sunshine Committee, which is a staff funding, is doing some stuff for the staff. And Donna and Trinity have some activities. We usually do a big meal in the spring, staff appreciation. Also, when the staff are there for conferences and they stay all night, we usually fund that. But it's up to you guys.
And I mean, I don't think there's any teachers on here right now, so I think we're okay in saying that. Sorry, I'm printing something and it's loud. Donna and Trinity did reach out with a request for some gift cards.
Great.
For teachers, which I understand are going to be given out in a fun fashion next week.
Gotcha.
So there is something that we've supported through our teacher appreciation fund dollars that's going to happen next week.
Gotcha.
But yeah, when is teacher appreciation week? It's like April or something like that.
Yeah, it's in the spring.
We've always done something during that week as well.
I can tell you, being married to a teacher, the thing that is the most like heartwarming thing that is kept for years are notes or emails from families saying, thank you so much. My kiddo loves your class, art, music, gym, library, media, whatever. That is like way more appreciated than, I mean, not that food and gift cards aren't appreciated, because they definitely are, but like that's what is kept and saved. So if you want to shower your kiddos teachers with appreciation, a note or an email really goes a long way.
I totally agree with.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
This is our first year at Marcy, and also it is going to be my fifth graders last year at Marcy, and open enrollment has started for the next year, and I've asked her, like, where are your friends going for middle school, and they either don't know or she keeps forgetting to ask. So I like to send her where she's going to know people, and I don't know if people in here know if there is a more typical middle school that people might end up with. I know Marcy used to go to 8th grade, so that might be a hard question, but I'm struggling right now.
That is a hard question because things are kind of shaking out right now. I know a lot of kids went to Northeast, and I know a lot of them have left Northeast. And so we can't really answer that maybe until a few more months have gone by, and then you kind of can see where people, I think, are very open. And we usually have some meetings in the spring where people can talk about what they're looking for in a middle school. We had middle school principals come online and talk to our kids. So in this case, it would be appropriate to continue doing that. And then maybe you can get a feel for it, but I think it's too soon to.
Yeah, that would be great, because I honestly don't find the websites of the schools very enlightening.
I just talked to somebody like an hour ago, and it's the third parent that went to Northeast Middle and then went to New City shortly after, which is, I don't know where New City is exactly. I think it's
over by the
Northeast.
Anchor.
Yeah.
It's in Northeast, but it's a charter school. It's not a at a
Yeah.
public school.
Yeah,
Um,
oh, go ahead.
there are so there's no middle school that's specific in arts magnet with the CDD, but there are is it 1 or 2 middle schools that are STEAM? So the STEM plus arts. And so if that would be a driving factor for a 5th grader, that might be something to look into too.
It is, and we were looking at Franklin, but I started my kids out at Elizabeth Hall and pulled them out to bring them to Marcy,
Mhm.
which is
Well,
right next door
I
to
think
Franklin.
I think you'll get more of an idea in the spring what's working for people, and where her friends and cohort maybe.
I know a handful of people whose kids go to Franklin, if you're interested in connecting. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure I mean, if you're talking MPS, it's just it's based on where you live, right?
Unless you
Yeah.
choose one of the magnet.
Right. I think
Middle
is
schools.
Franklin the only.
We're zoned. We could either choose Northeast or Franklin, and I don't know whether or not I want to go MPS or if I want to change to a charter, because I had heard some things about Northeast as well.
Have you looked at Heritage Academy? It's a STEAM middle school through high school.
I had
over in the
not.
Como
you.
area. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anyone that goes there. I just heard of it for the first time. I didn't even know it was part of MPS.
Heritage is it's a contract alternative.
Oh, okay.
So it's a school for students who don't find success in the traditional high schools.
Oh, okay.
But certainly we can invite any of these schools to come and speak to you guys.
Yeah, I was just thinking this might actually be really good for January, since you have to choose by like February 7th, you have to submit your stuff in. So I will work on contacting different middle schools in MPS and see if we can get a couple to talk with us in January. That's a great idea, Alicia. Thank you for bringing that up. I was also going to say, if you're on Facebook, I know last spring there was some hearty discussions in the Marcy parents Facebook page about where kids might be going for middle school. And so if that is a vehicle that you would find helpful and not helpful, that might be another place to connect with some more parents too.
That's a great.
I am on the parent Facebook page, so I can search back through the posts.
I would just like to throw out, if anyone doesn't keep up with these numbers, that we are district down to, as of last week, 29,000 enrolled students, which is an incredible divestment from the district. Now, every family, of course, needs to decide what's best for them. But I will share that even though I can't get my kid's IEP enforced, my child is receiving 20% of his IEP services right now. We are staying with the district because we can survive that in the short term. And I would compel people to think about whether their family might be able to absorb some short-term difficulties. And like I said, no judgment to anyone, and only you can know for your kids what the best decision given your individual family circumstances is. But we are bleeding families, and it means we are bleeding money as a district for our kids, and kids who are disproportionately impacted by everything that's happened so far will continue to be disproportionately impacted by the continued loss of funding as families divest. So if you can hunker down, it's just something to think about.
Yes, less of an opportunity for the district to say, we can't afford to pay our teachers and SEAs and everyone else a thriving wage.
I'm actually a lot of fun at parties, you guys, I promise. I know that I have all this stuff to say, but please don't hate me.
I'm
Or
loving
do,
your
or do,
comments. I'm loving your
do.
comments. I'm loving it. I'm so grateful that you're here and sharing your perspective. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
One last thought. I keep saying one last thought. We had talked about, or there was that family survey that went out around conference time, I think. And I don't know what's come of it, but if there's a way to see what the results were.
I will add that to my list of people to contact before the January meeting. So hopefully Donna and Trinity can share that at the January meeting. Thank you for reminding me.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, corrections, insults, concerns? Anything that anyone would like to share? I would love to hear it. Okay, hearing and seeing nothing, I'm going to motion that we adjourn. So that we can be on our way. Susanna, I do everything I can to
Laughing.
make people laugh. Okay, then let us be done for our December meeting. I
love she say insult. I love that word.
Oh, maybe you have an insult for me. No, I'll take it. I'll take it. Share it.
I love it.
Share it. We should all know. We should all know.
You make me laugh.
We all need more laughter in our lives.
I shouldn't be doing this, but you make me laugh with that word by the end. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for loving on our children. All right. Well, I will follow up and see who is available for our January meeting. Hopefully we can get some principals in. Otherwise, we have a whole list of some great ideas. So stay tuned. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.